Hey boys, it's HarmNone. Today we're going to be going over the top 10 best businesses in Grand Theft Auto Online. Now there's been a few changes since the last time I recorded one of these business videos. We've had a new business addition to the game, and we've had significant changes to two other previous businesses in the game that have bumped them up into the top 10 best businesses in the entire game. But before we get into this, make sure you go subscribe to my friend NPC, who you can see here. Anyways, we're going to go ahead and get into number 10. At number 10 we have vehicle cargo. Now vehicle cargo has had a buff with the release of the Los Santos Drug Wars update into Grand Theft Auto Online. Vehicle cargo now, when you sell it in public sessions, is going to give a high demand bonus, which previously was not a thing. Now if you don't know what a high demand bonus is, it's 2% for each player that's in the lobby that is not you. So if you're in a lobby with 29 players, you can times that by 2, and that is the bonus of money on your sale that you're going to get. So it can be pretty significant. It can be almost 60%, which is pretty huge. So vehicle cargo now is a lot more of a valuable business because of this. Obviously, you still do have to sell it in a public session, which sucks, but you can earn a lot more money for it. So I think it is a little bit more worth it, and it just kind of bumped this business up into the top 10. Now, in order to do vehicle cargo, you're going to need two things. You're going to need a CEO office, and you're also going to need a vehicle cargo warehouse. Now, these two things can cost you around $3 to $4 million if you go for the cheaper options. And if you go for some of the more expensive CEO offices, for example, as well as some of the more expensive vehicle cargo warehouses, you can get this business up to, a lot of money. So my recommendation is, if you're new to Grand Theft Auto Online, go for the cheaper CEO office and get a decent vehicle cargo warehouse. However, there are better ways to earn money, so don't go all in on this just yet. Make sure you wait till the end of the video to see what other businesses you could get into potentially before this one. So vehicle cargo is a little bit lower on this list because of the high setup cost. It is a very expensive business to start up, and it's also a very kind of lengthy grind to actually get to the point where you're going to make any sort of real money with vehicle cargo. Basically, the idea is to source as many cars as you possibly can. Now we have low range, standard range, and high-end cars as well. The high-end cars are the ones that you're going to want to sell and restock as much as possible. In order to do this, what you're also going to want to do is fill up all of the low-end cars. Once you max out the low-end and the standard range cars, don't ever sell them. Just source and sell the high-end cars, because you'll just keep getting duplicates of the high-end cars. This is how you're going to make the most money possible with vehicle cargo. Now, I will say that vehicle cargo still does not pay that much money in GTA Online, especially by today's standards. A typical sale will net you around 120 grand. If you keep the car in good condition, and with the new high demand bonus, you'll get maybe 180,000 per car that you deliver. You can have your associates help you sell these cars and deliver them. Usually it's pretty hard to find some CEO associates to actually help you out unless you're playing with friends. So if you're a solo player, this business honestly is not going to be that great for you. So that's pretty much it for vehicle cargo. Not the greatest business ever, but because of this recent buff, I do feel like it is deserving of being in the top 10 best businesses in Grand Theft Auto Online. That being said, let's move on to number 9, a slightly better business. Next up at number 9, we have air freight cargo that is found within the hangar. Now this is previously one of the worst businesses in the entire game, and in my opinion, it is still one of the absolute worst businesses in the entire game, even to this day. Air freight cargo has had a huge buff with the LS Drug Wars update that just got released into Grand Theft Auto Online, where air freight cargo is now worth triple what it once was. However, this is still not very much money, because air freight cargo used to be worth 10 grand per crate. However, now it's worth a whopping 30 grand per crate. Now the source missions for air freight cargo are what I have the biggest problem with. These missions can take up to half an hour to complete, depending on the one that you get. As you guys can see by the one that I'm doing with my friend NPC here, it's a pretty lengthy one, and it's pretty annoying. And for the $60,000 that we're going to get for completing this, we could very easily do some otherwise easier activities in GTA to make the same amount of money with less effort. And the thing is too, is even once you deliver these crates back to the hangar, you still have to do the sell mission to actually get the money for them. So it's really not that great of a business. Air freight cargo tards love to talk about this business, but it truly sucks, even with the triple money and triple RP bonus that's now permanently applied to the business. I will say the missions are kind of fun, and they are kind of a breath of fresh air into GTA, but they're still not worth your time to do because they're still not paying very much money. So that's pretty much it for air freight cargo within the hangar. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying don't buy a hangar, I'm just saying don't run air freight cargo within the hangar. Anyway guys, that's it for number 9, and that is it for air freight cargo. Let's move on to number 8. Next up, we have the auto shop. Now, found within the auto shop are 3 different ways to make money. First up, we have the customer deliveries. This is where you can customize a car and deliver it for a customer. I'll show you guys some gameplay of this in just a minute here. We also have the auto shop contracts as well that you can do. These pay a little bit more, however, they do take about 20 to 30 minutes per. So they're still not exactly the best way of earning money, but they are pretty decent. And of course, we also have the import-export list. These are cars that you can find randomly around in free mode and take them down to the docks to earn some cash and RP, usually about $20,000, so not exactly super worth it, but they're a quick 20k. Now, the customer deliveries are kind of my favorite way of making money with the auto shop. This is where you're going to spec out a car to a customer's wants, and then you're going to deliver it to them. Now, certain deliveries are going to take longer than others. There is a way of getting around this. If you get a delivery that's like 5 miles, you can just blow the car up and it will come right back into the auto shop, stay completely customized, and you can just sell it again and hope that you get a much closer delivery. Overall, I feel like the auto shop is a pretty decent business and definitely earns its spot at number 8. I think it's better than the hangar and vehicle cargo both, and it offers a bigger variety of things that you can do as well, which I do find nice. And not to mention, if you get the vehicle workshop within the auto shop, it also unlocks turbo, engine, transmission, brakes, and armor upgrades for players that are under level 100. You can get maxed out armor, you can get turbo, you can get maxed out engine upgrades, all of that stuff, and you also get everything at a discount. So that is something to be mentioned about the auto shop that makes it just that little bit better. So that's it for number 8. Let's move on to number 7. Next up at number 7, we have the Breaking Bad factory, or the Meth lab. In this business, you basically deliver supplies, and over time, the business will manufacture you, well, meth. The biggest problem with the MC businesses in GTA, which Meth is a part of, are the deliveries. The deliveries are absolutely awful, and some of them are actually almost impossible for a solo player to complete by themselves. My strategy with these MC businesses is to do one supply. You purchase it for $75,000, wait for it to make it into stock, and then you sell. This way you will get a maximum of 2 delivery vehicles, which is manageable to sell on your own if you're a solo player. However, if you do play with friends, you can completely max these businesses out. You can buy all the supplies and wait until the stock goes all the way up, and then do your sale missions, and you will still make a pretty good amount of money, and you'll actually be able to complete the sale missions. The sales are by far the worst part of this business. Everything else is pretty good. The only other problem is sometimes these businesses get raided a lot, so I would recommend installing a security upgrade. So that's it for the Meth lab. It's time to move on to number 6. Now at number 6, we have the CEO office plus CEO crates, or CEO cargo as it's otherwise known. Now, in order to do this business, you are going to need a CEO office, similar to vehicle cargo. I will mention with the CEO office as well, you can export mixed goods once you've got a warehouse and you've done your initial passive export missions, which I'll talk about in a minute. You can simply come up to the desk here and do the export mixed goods mission. You can do this once every 48 minutes and it pays you $50,000. You simply drive to your warehouse, pick up a truck, and then drive it down to the docks for 50 grand. Like I said, you can do it every 48 minutes, so this is a pretty good way to earn just a little bit of extra money. On top of this, CEO cargo got a buff with the Criminal Enterprises DLC that came out during the summer, where in each of your warehouses you have a technician that you can walk up to and assign to source you some cargo for $7,500. They will do this completely passively, and they will show back up to your warehouse 48 minutes after you launch this, with 1 to 3 crates and the possibility of getting a special crate. This is a main method for earning money for myself on the Xbox version of the game. I use this an absolute ton. I have 5 large CEO crate warehouses. I fly to each of them, passively source the goods, then go and do stuff to make my money back, and then also make some additional money, and then they deliver the crates, and then I go back to my CEO cargo warehouses and I do it again and again until I have tons of crates in my warehouses, and then I wait for the double money event to come on with CEO cargo, and then I make an absolute ton of money. In addition to this, while your technicians are passively sourcing crates, you can also go to your CEO office and source crates as well, so you can fill up your warehouses even faster. CEO cargo without double money usually pays you about double what you put into it. So say you put $18,000 into the business, you will get about $36,000 out. Unless you get special crates are worth a ton more than you have to pay for them. The only problem with CEO cargo now is they have added some missions that are just not worth actually doing the sourcing yourself. There's missions that take up to like 20 minutes to do, and it's just simply not worth it. So I prefer to completely passively source, run my export mixed goods, and then just do other businesses while my technicians in my warehouses are passively sourcing. So that's it for CEO cargo and the CEO office. It's a really good business, definitely one that I'd recommend getting into whenever you have the money. It's time to move on to number 5. Next up at number 5, we have the Coke lockup. This one is a pretty good business. It's another MC business similar to the Meth lab where you supply and it manufactures it. Like I said with the Meth lab, you should always sell if you're a solo player after you do one $75,000 resupply and it makes it into stock. Always do your sell mission because you will get a max of 2 vehicles, which is manageable for you to do as a solo player. This business pays a little bit more than Meth. At most, it will pay $525,000 once it's completely full, whereas Meth will only pay $445,000 for a full sale. So Coke is a little bit better. It's also a little bit quicker at making the stock than Meth, probably about 20 minutes faster overall, so it's pretty good. Definitely one of my favorite businesses, definitely my favorite MC business, and definitely the one that is the most worth it to run. Both of these businesses are necessary if you want to make the most money possible with the number 1 business on this list, so just keep that in mind. Anyways, that's it for number 5. It's time to talk about the newest business into Grand Theft Auto Online. Next up, of course, we have the Acid Lab that was added with the LS Drug Wars update. This business is the most new player friendly business in the entire game. You can do it by simply completing a bunch of missions in GTA. They're a little bit tedious, especially for older players who've been playing the game for a long time, but for new players, they're going to be kind of easy and kind of fresh for you. I would definitely recommend setting up this business as soon as possible, and if you're interested in knowing the ins and outs of it, I do have some very recent videos on my channel about this, so if you're new to the game and you're trying to get into it, these are definitely some videos that you're going to want to watch, especially for setting up this business. The Acid Lab is definitely my favorite new business in the entire game. It's definitely the best business from this update if you want to count the hangar getting a buff and vehicle cargo getting a buff. The Acid Lab is just far superior to both of them. The Acid Lab will make you about $335,000 worth of stock in 4 hours once you have the equipment upgrade, which is a pretty good amount of money. And not to mention, the Acid Lab also has the easiest sale missions in the entire game, other than maybe with the Nightclub. The thing that's really nice about the Acid Lab is the delivery vehicle is the same every single time. It is always the delivery bike, which has an infinite wheelie, which means you can go very, very fast, and it is also completely upgradable as well. So you can put max engine upgrades, max turbo, all of that stuff on the bike to make it as fast as possible. At most, you'll have 10 deliveries with this bike that are, semi well spread out, but it doesn't take you more than 10 minutes, I would say. You can have as little as 1 delivery as well, doing a full sale with the Acid Lab. I've heard of people getting 3 deliveries, and I've heard of them getting 5 as well. So no matter what, 10 is the absolute most that you're going to have to do, which is still not going to take you more than 10 minutes. So it's a pretty good business in my opinion. Definitely one that you guys are going to want to look into. So that's it for number 4. Let's move on to number 3. At number 3, we have the Bunker. Now the Bunker is similar to the MC businesses, the Meth Lab and the Coke lockup. The Bunker is interesting though because it also has a research aspect to it where you can research special weapon parts and stuff like that that you would otherwise not be able to unlock in GTA, so that is pretty cool. Also with the Criminal Enterprises DLC, the Bunker got a pretty huge update where it adds a delivery vehicle similar to the CEO office export mixed goods delivery vehicle, except in the Bunker you are delivering weapons to a random ammunition that is on the map. This mission refreshes every 48 minutes and it will pay you $50,000 every single time that you do it. Apart from your first time, the first time that you complete this mission will pay you $150K, same with the CEO export mixed goods mission as well. So that is something to keep in mind. If you haven't done it yet, you should definitely give it a shot. These missions only take about 5 minutes at most, and for $50K, that's pretty good. Now in addition to this, you can also manufacture weapons in the Bunker by delivering supplies to the Bunker or purchasing them and waiting for them to turn into stock. My personal philosophy with the Bunker that I always go for is I pay 75 grand for the supplies, I wait for it to make the $210,000 worth of stock, and then I do the sale mission. If you do this every single time you sell, you will only have 1 delivery vehicle, making this a very, very easy business to run as a solo player. If you do play with friends, of course, you can keep resupplying it. If you do 2 resupplies that are worth 75 grand each, in other words, a full resupply, you'll get 2 sale vehicles. If you do 3 of these, you'll get 3 sale vehicles. If you do 4, you'll get 4 sale vehicles. So it's a pretty easy way of operating the Bunker, I would say. The Bunker is definitely my favorite supply business in the game, where you supply it and then you sell the stock once it's finished manufacturing. I think it's very unique, and the sale missions are not that awful. The worst mission probably takes about 15 minutes to do, and you're going to get a decent amount of money for it anyways. So it's a pretty good business, definitely one to look into. Next up, we have the Agency. Now the Agency was added with the contract DLC last winter. The agency features 3 main ways to make money. The first of those being security contracts. You can operate these by going to your office computer and launching them, and the amount of security contracts that you have successfully completed will directly affect how much money you get into your agency safe every single in-game day in Grand Theft Auto Online, or every 48 minutes of real time. So for example, with the agency, if you complete 11 security contracts, you will get $1,000 deposited into your agency safe every 48 minutes of real time. If you do 121 agency security contracts successfully, you will get $12,000 deposited into your agency safe every single in-game day, and it maxes out at 201 security contracts completed. So that means that you will get $20,000 into your agency safe every in-game day or every 48 minutes of real time. So this is probably my favorite way to make money with the agency. However, it does also give you access to payphone hits, which you can either call Franklin for, or they will show up randomly on your minimap and you can just go to them. If you do these 100% correctly, you will get paid $85,000, and they don't take more than 15 minutes, usually somewhere in the neighborhood of about 5 to 10 minutes, I would say. So these are pretty good paying as well. And of course, the final way to make money with the agency is through doing the contract, which is kind of the heist that came with the agency. This will pay you $1 million upon completion, and it takes you about an hour and a half to complete it every single time. So the agency is definitely a pretty good business. The more you put into it, the more you're going to get out of it, especially with the security contracts. It is very, very good. Also within the agency, you can get the vehicle workshop, which will allow you to put Imani tech on certain Imani tech capable vehicles like the Bravado Buffalo STX and a few more on top of that. Now, Imani Tech can equip your vehicle with a missile lock-on jammer, meaning that jets, oppressors, everything like that cannot lock onto you with lock-on missiles, which is pretty damn useful. So that's pretty much it for the agency at number 2. It's time to move on to the number 1 best business in Grand Theft Auto Online. At number 1, we have the Nightclub. The Nightclub is the best business in Grand Theft Auto Online by a pretty long shot. This thing is just insane. With the release of the expanded and enhanced edition into Grand Theft Auto Online several months ago, the Nightclub safe's daily take went from $10,000 to $50,000. So every 48 minutes, you'll get 50 grand deposited into your Nightclub safe, so long as the popularity is high enough. With the Criminal Enterprises DLC, they also released a new way of keeping your popularity up with random missions that will pop up in your Nightclub, making keeping your popularity high easier than ever. You can also keep your popularity high by switching the DJs in the Nightclub basement. That will also skip the cutscene as well, so that is pretty cool. Speaking of the Nightclub basement, this is probably the best way to earn money with the Nightclub, especially if you're into making money completely passively. Within your Nightclub basement, you will have 7 different ways of earning money with it, and you'll have 5 technicians. You can assign these 5 technicians to any of the 7 available goods to source in the Nightclub basement. Now, these goods are dependent on what businesses you own in the game. So the Nightclub is one of the most expensive businesses to set up, but it's also one of the ones that you can get the most out of. You can source South American imports, pharmaceutical research, cash creation, sporting goods, cargo and shipments, organic produce, and forged documents. Once you purchase all 5 of these technicians, they can completely passively source these goods for you. And when they get full, you can assign them to different things to source, like organic produce and forged documents. The best 5 things to source are in this order: South American imports, pharmaceutical research, cash creation, cargo and shipments, sporting goods, organic produce, and forged documents. Now, in order to be able to source these, you're going to have to own coke, meth, counterfeit cash, a CEO cargo warehouse, weed for organic produce, and document forgery for forged documents. Now, your Nightclub basement is going to do this completely passively, but of course you are going to need all of these businesses, and you are going to need to have all of them set up. You don't necessarily have to keep them supplied at all. You just have to have the businesses set up. So make sure that if you get raided, you set up your business again, because if you don't, you will not be able to source these goods in the Nightclub basement. The Nightclub basement maxes out around $2.5 million. So if you completely fill this thing up, you're going to get a huge payday when you do your delivery mission at the end. The nice thing about the Nightclub basement deliveries is they are always one vehicle, and they give you roughly 20 minutes to complete the deliveries, and they're all very, very easy, I find. So that's pretty much it for the Nightclub. It is definitely the best business in Grand Theft Auto Online, especially if you are into doing things passively. Obviously, if you want to be a little bit more involved, you could potentially say the agency is a little bit better, but even it has a pretty passive element to it with the agency emergency safe. So anyway guys, there you have it. Those are the 10 best businesses in all of Grand Theft Auto Online right now. Definitely I recommend doing basically the top 5 of these, maybe even the top 6. Closer to the top of the list, I don't really recommend them as much. They are kind of necessary to have for some things, but I don't necessarily think that they're essential to have in Grand Theft Auto Online. Anyway guys, if you enjoyed this video, if you learned something, a like is of course appreciated. Share this video around, subscribe to my channel if you guys are new, and I will see you all in the next video. Until then, take care. Peace.